yeah, just like a long distance relationship, it's not enough if you just see each other once a month. Like you still
Yeah.
need to jump on to have a call. You need to be on track with what's going on in each other's lives. And the same counts for like company culture. So like, really show them that you care, show them, that you want to support them on, on full, like reaching their fullest potential. And, that also covers like their mental health, like, just make sure that if it's online or offline, make sure the workplace is a place where they can feel safe, to express themselves. And also if they're not feeling as well, that they get like supported and not being judged, or, they can be openly talking about, a burnout situation or whatever.
Welcome to the show about new ideas on how we live, work, and connect. This is Borivik, your host, and in the following episode, together with my guests and listeners, we are again in search of something different. Hello, Nini, welcome on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Feeling honored to be your guest.
So where are you calling in from? Where are you right now?
I'm actually tuning in from my dad's office today. So it's co-working with Daddy Fritz. It's his 60th birthday tomorrow. So I'm currently with my family in the south of Germany. Yeah.
Happy birthday to him. Happy birthday to
Thank
him.
you.
Cool.
Thank
And
you.
are you...
One day to go.
I would say that you must be a digital nomad. You must be a remote worker, based on what you usually do. Can you talk a little bit about what are the 3 projects that you're working on? You're amazing in connecting people, which we already found out that we have that in common. But you have 3 amazing projects about this. Can you just talk a little bit about what's the difference between the 3 projects?
Absolutely. Yeah. Quite recently, I actually came up with a cool, we can call it analogy, but like I actually connected the dots that it kind of does make sense what I'm doing, that I'm working on different things, but actually they're all aligned.
They are, yeah.
Cause yeah, my personal passions, they're just people and freedom and happiness. So I just try to find a way to like actually integrate that in my professional path as well. So I'm focusing on connecting people and yeah, leaving a spark of positivity and happiness in their lives. So I try to, inspire them to live happier lives, and happier lives start with connections. So all my free business is all about connecting people. I do have the Work Happiness Project, which is team building and culture building by bringing more like holistic happiness to the workplace. Mostly I work with remote companies. So the idea is to, work from anywhere and actually still feel connected with everyone in your team and build like a strong culture behind. Even if you're just working from different countries all over the world, that you still feel this sense of belonging and you're being like promoted in your personal path to happiness and on your personal journey, but in a very holistic way. Then the second thing is EyeConnect, Stronger Than Wi-Fi, which is an icebreaker digital detox game that is meant to just get people off their phones and have better conversations by ditching the small talk and looking up from their screens and asking better questions. And there are like 6 different levels of connection. So
wow, 6 different levels.
6 different levels. Yeah,
crazy.
They all have like a Wi-Fi bar on the back of the car. And then the higher the Wi-Fi bar, the deeper is the level and the stronger the connection. So you would roll the dice, and the dice kind of defines how deep you go.
Is it for people who don't know each other, or for people who already know each other but they want to get to know each other deeper?
The beautiful thing is for everyone. So most people actually use it for people they know and they want to get to know better, especially if they want to go full spectrum and play connection level 1 to 6. But I do use it a lot for networking events as well, for like co-working places, for membership events. And then, I make sure it's just level 1 to 4, but we probably ditch the 5 and 6. Otherwise it might get too heavy for some people on a first interaction. But I'm always surprised how willing people actually are to open up, even with strangers, as long as you give them a platform. And, it has to be mutual because both people answer the question. So it actually creates a lot of trust and a close bond if you dive that deep from like the very first interaction. Yeah.
Okay. And then you have the third one as well.
Yeah, the third baby is called Symbiose, and that is a culture building app slash platform for companies. It's I call it a little Burning Man for companies or meetup for companies. So the idea behind it is that every employee can create their own workshop and share it company wide. That employees are no longer just being seen as their human doing, as you're the marketing guy, you're the sales guy, whatever. They're being seen like in a more holistic way. And yeah, consider their interests, their skills, their talents, their passions. So everyone can create like a beach cleanup, host a meditation session,
Oh, so cool.
start health challenges, and just hold each other accountable. Donations for the homeless people, whatever it is, and you can create an event and then just share it company wide. And the idea is that you build a culture based, a very unique company culture based on the hidden superpowers of your people in the company. And then just, bringing together all these colorful different talents and passions, and yeah, create something powerful together and connect based on interests and not just on departments.
Oh, that sounds really, really cool idea. I love it. I'm going to definitely check it out more deeply. So my question would be, when people are contacting you and they want to work with you, what do they feel is missing from their company culture? Like, what's the first sign of a sick company culture, if I would say, if you would be the doctor for that?
Like, first and foremost, it's connection. Like, especially in the remote work now, remote work world. We have this freedom to work from anywhere, but we're actually really lacking this human component because we only meet up on Zoom. We have a scheduled meeting. A lot of companies now even work async, which means they don't even rock up to like a one-time meeting. They're just recording the meeting and then everyone can watch it at their own time. Which is beautiful to kind of, build your work around your life, and you have more time for your passions and your hobbies. But the company culture gets a little bit lost if you don't have these human bonds in between. So there's no such thing as water cooler conversations or, having this 2 minute non-work related chit chat about your kids, about, the last episode of Games of Thrones or something. So that's completely missing. And therefore, a lot of employees, they no longer feel attached to their company culture. So work comes very replaceable. Yeah, if you just have the comfort to work from your home, then it doesn't really matter if you work for a different company, because that doesn't change anything. You just open your laptop in the morning and then you log into a different account. So yeah, a lot of people don't stay as long with a company because they don't have this company culture. They don't feel glued. They don't have this sense of belonging to something bigger. And that makes it extremely difficult for companies also to deal with changes, change the dynamics within the team. They spend a lot of money on training new people. And yeah, I mean, there's, of course, every person that joins a company kind of slightly shifts the dynamic. So if you have that over and over again, it's difficult to stick with the overall mission. Yeah.
Okay. So actually what the leaders of the company or maybe HR of the company sees is that there's a lot of fluctuation in the company.
Exactly.
And people come and go and cost them a lot of money because they need to hire new people, they need to train new people, and then they lose these people. And then they realize, oh my God, these people are not connected to each other.
Absolutely.
Therefore, I will not be able to keep them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. And so then what are the tools that you can use for these kind of things? Because we don't have a water cooler to hang out.
Yeah.
And people are getting maybe a little bit tired sometimes from talking online.
Yeah.
What do you do then? What do you suggest them to do?
It depends. I host training workshops myself. So I have like kind of the holistic happiness principle is based on 3 core pillars. So we have live fuller, connect deeper, and be happier. So based on the project that I'm working on, can be that, I come up with a strategy plan for a company. So we have a theme of the month. And then every month, we have like a workshop, we have a newsletter, we have exercises around one topic, and they get like different exercises. This could be, meet up with one colleague for like a virtual coffee session, and they get EyeConnect questions. So they actually, have something to talk about. They can create non-work related Slack channels based on different hobbies or interests that they can share. Then one of my best going workshops is a bucket list workshop. So yeah, we just had a conversation about that before. So I think you'll probably dive into that in a second. But there's also the idea of, coming up with something that just lights you up from inside. And then within the company they can find either like bucket list buddies to share the same activity, to work towards the same activity. So they can have like a runners club or, accountability check-ins. But yeah, they can also team up for mutual bucket list activities, support each other. And that's kind of creating this positive, uplifting culture that people encourage and support each other in reaching their goals and dreams that are not just work related, but by getting this goal getting and setting mindset. Of course, it also benefits the bottom line of the company.
Yeah. So the reason why we were laughing a little bit is because I actually had my TEDx talk about my bucket list quite a few years ago, actually.
What year was
it? 2016, I think.
Oh, wow. Maybe I've watched it because I binge watched pretty much every TEDx talk about bucket list. So there's a good chance.
Could be. I recorded it. We had it on the Siget Festival. So it was like a festival at TEDx, which was like in a tent. And it was like, it was an experience for sure. It's not online anymore.
No.
That's sad.
Okay.
Yeah, well.
Send it to me anyway. I would love to see it.
I have to have another one though. So this is how we connected the first time. And we were connected through Marcel, who was also coming on the show.
Thank you, Marcel.
Shout out to Marcel.
Shout out to him.
And then I checked your profile and I was like, you're working with Connection and you're working with Bucketlist. I'm like, this is, we have something.
We were meant to be on this podcast.
Definitely. So what I was thinking that I did give a lot of talks for companies about my bucket list, by the way, and about bucket list. And what I realized that many times the leaders who ask me to do that, they are really progressive. They already know that this is something that people can, get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes these, the employees were sent in and I would say like 80% super enthusiastic. And there's this 20% who are a little bit less enthusiastic about all the connection games and all the, let's make friends together in the company setting.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with those situations when that happens?
It's a very good point because, as much as we want to bring like more connections and genuine happiness to the workplace, of course, there are some people who just see work as work and they don't want to find a work bestie. They come there to do their job, to earn their money, and then they're off again. But deep down, I don't know, maybe I'm being delusional, but I do think that everyone deep down just craves connection. You don't have to find a best friend, but of course you just want to like work in an uplifting and positive work environment. But yeah, as you go along, I think it becomes quite obvious who's like more engaged and then who's less engaged. So I always put the focus on the emphasis on the value they get out of it. Because sometimes all these connection games, they're not just about connecting with your co-workers. They genuinely help you in life to like also connect deeper with friends, with family. And my favorite study to use for that is this 85-year-long Harvard study. When they probably heard of it, they did like a 85-year-long study. Course, a few participants didn't make it through the entire study. But yeah, it was about finding out what are the factors for a fulfilling and happy life. And they found that the number one indicator for living a happy and fulfilled life is indeed the quality of our relationships. So not the quantity, but in fact, like, the quality of our interactions and our relationships. So yeah, I think that's super important to to just
Definitely.
let
Yeah.
them know that it could also be, to boost their relationship with their family, with their friends, and then actually, come to work, be more supercharged from inside. They have more energy, they have more drive. So I just want to make sure they take something away for their own life. And I think when they're more switched on, they're more energetic from the inside, it will
Mm.
translate into their performance in the office one way or another, and then just create a positive ripple effect. But my motto is always no pressure, just pleasure. So I don't force anyone to be bubbly and outgoing and, just do all of it if they don't feel like it.
If
I
they don't
think
feel like, exactly. Yeah.
everybody at their own pace, and authenticity is the core message of it. Yeah.
Mm. So I did talk about company culture with a few HR representatives and team
Yeah.
leaders, especially as COVID hit, and then after
Yeah.
that, many people are refusing to go back to work, and it's better for the
Yeah.
companies as well because they don't have to pay for an office, and
Yeah.
everything is changing because of home office now. And I found out that a few of them, they feel like, hey, we do everything what we can because we have team buildings.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your take on that? Is that enough?
I don't think it's enough to just do that. Like, I always like to draw the comparison. Once wrote like a LinkedIn article about it, of why like a healthy company culture, even like a remote company culture, is like a healthy long distance relationship. And yeah, like, of course, it is important that you have these team building activities, but that should be an add on and not like your basis of building a company culture. Like, a company culture is not just having a ping pong table at the office, and it's not just having a one time team event like every 6 months. Like, it really lives from everything that happens in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like a long distance relationship, it's not enough if you just see each other once a month. Like, you still
Yeah.
need to jump on to have a call. You need to be on track what's going on in each other's lives. And the same counts for like company culture. So like, really show them that you care, show them, that you want to support them on, on full, like reaching their fullest potential. And, that also covers like their mental health, like, just make sure that if it's online or offline, make sure the workplace is a place where they can feel safe, to express themselves. And also, if they're not feeling as well, that they get like supported and not being judged, or, they can be openly talking about, a burnout situation or whatever. So yeah, I do think team building is so much more than what happens at a 1 hour workshop event. Like, it's everything in between that leads to that you become part of the team, and you actually, feel safe in it, and you don't want to work for anyone else.
Yeah, I guess one of the things that people misunderstand is that HR and company culture are not the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it feels like in companies, there's an HR representative, and then they're being thrown at, now you need to deal with remote culture.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but I have to do like a gazillion other things as well.
Yeah.
Recruiting and I don't even know, like insane amount of work. So they actually get a new position. And in some companies, I know, actually one of my best friends, she get promoted from, I don't know what she did before. I think like tech support actually.
Yeah.
And then because she's a huge traveler.
Yeah.
And she's been traveling the world for a few years, like 5-6 years. And then went back to Budapest, settled down, and got actually promoted to be a company culture specialist. Is this a new position that people have now? Is it like, has that been always there? Or is it like something new, or what's happening?
I do think it's a relatively new position because it just became so much more important. I mean, of course, looking at the current market, like, we actually need to hire a lot of people because you have to become more attractive as an employer. And before, it was the other way around. It's kind of like a little bit like dating, like the employee kind of represented him or herself in the best way possible to get hired for the position. Now the employer has to become more attractive to actually bring something to the table to attract and retain top talent. So I do think we have to be more niche specific in the HR department, because it's no longer like one person can do all of it. Like, there's so many subtitles now for what HR means. Like, of course, we have like head of people and culture, head of employee experience, head of remote, head of, people ops and stuff, but like this whole, it's like 5 different subtitles for what it actually means to work for HR. So you're not just hiring people, but you actually have to come up with like a whole strategy to actually keep them, to motivate them, and then also across different work settings, because building a company culture in the natural context, or like, in the office setting, is actually something that you would expect to just flow naturally. But if it's remote, you actually have to put conscious effort into building it, because it doesn't happen naturally. Like, you don't bump into each other in the coffee kitchen and have these little chit chats. Like, if you don't put any conscious effort into building it, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, it becomes an extra task, and like there needs to be someone in charge to specifically take care of that one department, because otherwise you're just too busy hiring and firing people again who are just not aligned with your mission and vision, or don't show up with the expected motivation, because, they don't feel like this sense of belonging. So of course, they're not as motivated to perform their best if they don't feel like this, I would say, like emotional connection to the company in any way.
Yeah, and then the funny thing is that even the leaders feel that they need to belong somewhere. And then so if you're lucky and then you're working in a company where the leader kind of, besides being, I don't know, a marketing manager, understands that I also need to take care that my team's well-being, that they want to hang out here. Yeah. And sometimes they don't, and sometimes they do. It depends on the company culture, like based on what values they're choosing their leaders. Yeah. But what do you think it makes a good remote leader? We talked about this with Lavinia as well, also in the show. But I'm really curious on your take on that one.
Wow. Okay, that's a very complex question, but I think a remote leader, first and foremost, should start with the right intention. Why they created, or he or she created, a remote culture, or like a remote company. I do think some people do it for the perks of, just saving some rent on office spaces. And it's just like probably like cheaper to now have the possibility to hire people in like lower salary countries. So it's actually like a cost effective thing. But I do think a good remote leader actually does it with the intention of believing that people are able to perform at their best when they also live a life that intrinsically fulfills them. So the idea behind this to really like build your work around your life and not your life around your work. And ideally a good remote leader should like practice what he preaches and do that. So yeah, one of my favorite remote leaders, or head of remote, is Chase Warrington. Like, you probably know him because he was first remote leader, or like the first big one who's been speaking as like head of remote. He's working for Do It, and he's almost like a remote leader influencer, I would say. But if you follow him, like that for me is like the embodiment of what it really means to be a remote leader, to just have all the work tools implemented, so they have like this at least 24 hours response policy, but they totally work async, so it's clearly communicated. So in that case, I would say number one is clear communication of your work policies, that you do work async, or if you work sync, that's a different topic. But then everybody knows what to expect. So there's kind of like a behavioral codex, because you need to implement rules and not just be like, oh yeah, work anywhere, work anytime, no matter what time zone you're in. Of course, you need some regulations. So there kind of needs to be like a playbook, or like a guideline, what these rules are. Yeah, just authentically practice what you preach, I would
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Totally understand that. Yeah. So what happens if you are in a team, just from the other side? What happens if you stuck in a team that you love the job, but you don't like the team? You don't have connection. You don't even know if you like them because you don't
Yeah.
have zero connection.
Yeah.
What would you suggest to somebody who's listening to this podcast and goes like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm so freaking lonely here.
Yeah.
What to do then?
Honestly, communicate it. I think communication is the key. And then, just talk to the next higher position or team up with like at least one person. I reckon if you're feeling lonely and not connected, then of course there must be someone else in the team who probably also feels lonely, because then no one is connected. So yeah, just always make it up first thing, and then ideally be solution oriented. Like if you have anything in mind, or I mean, of course, I'm happy to help as well. Come up with a plan. Like come up with an idea of that one thing that would actually help you to feel more connected. So what would help you in the workplace to feel less lonely, to feel less isolated, and then start to be a revolutionist and make a change. It could be like weekly virtual coffee breaks, like let's say Friday, 3 p.m. We all check in for like 30 minutes and, have like a casual catch up where we don't talk about work. I'm always big on integrating like non-work related Slack channels, where you can just share memes, share thoughts, share jokes, funny YouTube videos, whatever it is. But I think as soon as we start bringing like the human component into the workplace, then it actually helps us to make a connection. If you don't talk about just work, it allows us to look behind this case of the head of marketing, accounting, whatever, and connect on a human level, and that's when we start feeling less lonely.
I see that. How did you get into this, by the way? Like, how did that happen?
How did that happen? Funny thing is, I actually did this whole, bucket list journey. Like, quick background story. I did my own bucket list year, so I did like a year of all the things I've always wanted to see and do. And then a few months into, I watched this TEDx talk from a guy called the Bucketlist guy. And he just gave this blueprint of how to write a personally meaningful bucket list based on 12 different steps, 12 different categories. And that really inspired me to kickstart my own journey. And I still had 9 months to go. So it actually really helped me to get a strategy behind it. And I met the Dalai Lama and like did cool things.
You met the Dalai Lama?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I touched hands with him. That's like as close as it got, but it's not that he remembered my name, but
yeah. You didn't have like a private coffee tea session with him.
Yeah, like he met me.
Maybe you were in his bucket list,
I think so. I was actually on his bucket list, so he can tick it off now.
Yeah, finally.
Finally. It's been a while that he tried to get me.
So you had your bucket list year, and then what happened?
So I watched his TEDx talk, and I did a lot of crazy things after, and then eventually I moved to Australia and reached out to the guy who gave this TEDx talk and was Australian. So yeah, we met up. I asked if I can invite him for a coffee to just thank him for his inspiration, for making me do all these things I've always wanted to see and do. And then we had a long talk, and then eventually I wanted to become a bucket list coach, because that was his business model behind it. That you can kind of what he did in the TEDx talk, like do that for companies and stuff, and get this whole training. It was like a full-on training.
I need to check this out now.
I don't actually know if they're still doing the licenses, but eventually, like I joined and swapped my bucket list year for like a bucket list life, and like joined as their global head of marketing. Of course, it was remote because you have to live your bucket list, so you don't go to an office. And yeah, that's how I started off my own remote working journey while living my bucket list. And then I actually figured out that, it's pretty cool to work from anywhere. And I love the freedom. But I did have those moments where I was like, oh, I'm really like a people's person. I love to connect. I love to inspire, and creating ads behind my computer is not really it didn't feel like that was my purpose. And I feel
Mm.
like in a way, like my potential of being a people's person was kind of getting a little bit lost. And I'm like, oh, I just one of the one thing that really hurts the most to me is seeing like wasted potential. So I'm like definitely not wanting to waste my own. Um, so yeah, I just took the license and left the marketing position, and then focused on team building for remote companies. And then yeah, thought I'd just blend in the best of both worlds to keep on working from anywhere and like help other people working from anywhere and actually do feel this connection.
So you
And
had
then
a license about this? You have like a team
yeah,
building license?
not the team building, I actually just had this bucket list coaching
Yeah, okay, okay,
license.
that's one,
And
yeah.
then based on a little bit
There's
of experience and working
Mm.
remotely, I kicked off my own journey. And then, yeah, just
Look where you are now. Really cool.
kind of at my
What I
dad's
saw is like you're
office.
working with a lot of
Yeah,
cool companies actually. So
yeah,
there's like a lot of big
yeah.
companies reaching out. How could you get from coaching to get your foot in the big companies if you
Yeah,
would like to share that
yeah.
experience?
Like I always like to dream big. So for me, it was kind of, starting off this journey, I went for the big fish directly, but I have to say that did not work out as planned when I first, started my journey. So it's all about now it's like I have this cool Bucketlist workshop and like
Mm-hmm.
2 years of experience in working remotely. And I was, nah, I don't know. That would be a lie to say I was super confident to go out there, but I wasn't expecting that it's going to be that challenging. So I just got myself a list of all the remote companies and then just connected with all the HR people on LinkedIn and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And no one replied. So conversion was
As they
maybe
do.
-0. And I came up with this like super creative approaches and stuff from like nothing. So that was a bit frustrating. So then I thought, I just have to work smarter, not harder. So I just have to connect with someone who already has the network and kind of needs what I offer. So I actually got a VA on Fiverr for like $10 or something to create me a list of all the team building companies in countries with a relatively decent average salary. And then I reached out to the team building companies with like a personalized page and actually like took time to research what they're doing and read a little bit in the about me section or about us to get a better idea of the team. So it's not like this copy and paste message. And then, yeah, teamed up with a bunch of team building companies. Luckily, they liked what I was doing. And then they took my workshop on as part of their portfolio. And then they got commissioned for selling my workshops, but they already had the network of like big companies that, they've worked with, they trusted. So now they just had a new workshop to promote. And yeah, that's how I got my foot out in the door. And I do have to say, once you have like a few of the big fishies on, like was it like HubSpot, Facebook, Dell and stuff, the rest comes easier, if you already have the logos
Exactly.
on it.
Yeah, you just put it on your website and look at that.
Yeah.
Like everybody's going to catch you on podcasts and
Yeah,
have
yeah.
all different. You already have
Yeah.
the loyalty and
Yeah.
you have the trust
Yeah.
that you can create.
Lucky, like when
This
it
is
comes
like
to that,
such a
I was
cool
very
story that
fortunate.
you have.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you share this with us.
You're
It's
welcome.
really, really cool. So now you built your own workshop facilitator thing, and then you encourage people to create their own workshops within the company, right?
That's exactly. So that's the third thing we've talked about. So apart from me hosting the workshops now, there's this analogy called, I don't know, it's like don't quote me on this one, but something about, teach them how to fish instead of fishing for them. Something about it. So yeah, it's like I'm just one person and I can only do like a limited number of workshops a day, a month. And I'm so mission and purpose driven with this idea of like letting people, be seen and unfold their full potential and like make workplaces happier places that people get excited about. And there's always been the stigma that like work has to suck, and I don't think it has to suck. Of course, like our daily tasks and to-do list, they not get us excited every day, but I do believe we can create like workplaces that we get excited about
yeah, definitely.
Virtually or to the office.
That I think that the problem might be on the other side, that I get so used to of being my own boss and being an entrepreneur, and sometimes, you know, I feel this is going to be vulnerable, but I feel like just because of the community, I worked in a really cool place.
Yeah.
Ages ago, before I became a nomad and whatsoever. And I loved my company. And the reason why I stayed there for 8 years is because we had a band within the company. Like, can you imagine? I was a lead singer.
And you kind of look like a rock star. Like, I
thank you. I was not a rock star, believe me, but we had fun making music. And I just love the people there. So we had the really amazing company culture. I think the HR did amazing, like hiring the people. And we had a nice office where we went, and they made sure that we are happy, and we had the ping pong table, but it was more like we were free to move, and then we didn't really have the like, it was a really good place. And then I think I would love to, you know, have to meet the same people over and over again, where I'm not the decision maker, because I have 2 teams. I'm running 2 companies. And I have 2 independent teams, and I talk to them and make sure. But it would be nice to just go back and relax a little bit sometimes.
This
was my more vulnerable take in it. Do you work with anybody? Do you have a team?
So for 2 of the 3 projects, I do have co-founders. But then for the Work Happiness project, or just for the hosting the workshops, I am the team. But for EyeConnect, I have one. And then for Symbiose, I have another one.
Okay, cool. So you're not lonely.
I'm not lonely,
okay,
no. Sometimes, honestly, indeed, I feel like my social life could be a full-time job. And I'm grateful to have so many amazing and, you know, meaningful relationships in my life. And but I like what I just wanted to say, like, I totally feel you on, you know, working for someone. Like, I'm all about, you know, doing my own thing, and I love creating something. But sometimes I see all these really cool company cultures, and I'm like, wow, actually, it would be kind of cool to just work in a team and, you know, like work for like a big company, and you just have your work besties, and, you know, instead of now it's like me paying for everything, or like paying for who knows, trainings and whatever. So if you actually have like a cool HR department who's like, no worries, we cover your co-working space, we cover your gym membership, like, how cool is that?
But then look at us being here middle of the day recording our little hobby projects, and and then I'm gonna go to the gym in the afternoon. So yeah, of course, there's pros and cons in both sides. I would still not go back, I guess, for a proper company. It's just because I think it's kind of, you get used to one thing, and I believe what happens, and I might go back to a company, because what happens now is that the two things start to get a little bit closer to each other. So leaders start to figure out that they cannot micromanage all the time. They shouldn't micromanage. Do listen to the podcast, everybody who's listening to this one, the one with Lavinia, where we talked about how to motivate your team, and how to not even motivate your team. It was an amazing podcast with her too.
She's awesome.
She's crazy. We had the same mastermind group. I was so lucky. We were in the same group for like a year or 2.
That's so cool. Yeah. I hosted a Bucketlist workshop for
Livid,
for their team as well. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. So what I believe is that the 2 companies, like the 2 words, start to get a little bit closer to each other. And leaders start to understand that not going to the office it might be something valuable for your employees, or giving the freedom pretty much is the new wealth. And this is what they can distribute. So I believe that now what happens is that we are getting closer to the two ways on what we sacrificed for the company. The company is realizing it now, because of the company culture and whatsoever. They can get back these people to work for them full time, I think, at one point. Maybe now.
Maybe
We'll see.
now's the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I think I asked everything, and this is like an amazing end point of this discussion that we had. Where can people find you?
Of course, for the in the professional context, it's on LinkedIn, Nini Fritz. I
Maybe to
haven't
put it
figured
in the
out if
description.
there's any other Nini Fritz out there. But the one in the blue shirt on LinkedIn, and then for all my work stuff, we have the workhappinessproject.com. We have EyeConnectGame.com. Also, I'm happy to create a discount code for the podcast for anybody
Yes, let's
who
do
wants
that.
to order through that.
Let's do that.
Gets a little bit off. It's a really cool game. And then Symbioseapp.com is the third one. So
Okay.
yeah,
Amazing.
all the three. Of course, feel free to link them in the description. So
we will. And then if you can use the coupon code something different, then
set something up.
Let's do that. All right. Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here. It was lovely to chat with you.
I'm also impressed by what you created. So if I ever create a podcast, you'll be my guest.
Let's do that. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
You are listening to the In Search of Something Different podcast, where we talk about new ways and ideas on how we live, work, and connect. If you like this episode, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating, as it helps in this word. And also, you can say hi on Instagram. You can find the show under In Search of Something -different. I'll come back to you soon with the next episode, but until that, don't forget to stay curious.